Shalom. Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for April 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Sunday edition of the podcast. Unfortunately, not a happy one because of the Sixers loss 111-104 to the Knicks last night. I mean, the Knicks just caught fire when they need it, and the Sixers just couldn't hit a shot. It was a good back-and-forth game. They had a little bit of a Joe injury scare, but it wouldn't be a Sixers playoff game without that. But I think overall there's some good takeaways we could take from that. I still think this game or this series is going 7 games. It's going to be a battle. But the Knicks are just outstanding at offensive rebounding. We talked about that a little yesterday, and that was on full display. It was ridiculous. So I think that's something the Sixers absolutely need to start working on. I had the injury scare with Joe on the ridiculous dunk, but he did come back, which was good. And from what I was reading this morning in the paper, it seems like he will be okay. Didn't seem to be limping around or anything, so that's good news. Hopefully it was more of a scare, and now that he was able to kind of suffer through something like that, maybe it'll give him a little bit more confidence on that knee. I don't know, but it was a scary thought there for a minute, but he seems to be okay. This is going to be a good series. It's going to be a brutal, tough, kind of old school series, and it was going to be tough. But I think we need, like I was talking to Topher Pete, talking a little trash last night, but I think that we definitely need this to be a rivalry. I mean, I know everybody says, oh, the NBA needs the Knicks, blah, 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 blah. But I think for the Sixers and Knicks to have that New York-Philly rivalry, I'm really hoping that this is the start of something big. And also, too, I didn't realize that – I guess I did, and I completely forgot. And as a Temple guy, it was even more gut-wrenching to see 3 Villanova guys in the Knicks starting lineup. And then Rick Brunson on the bench, which – I mean, it is what it is. Rick Brunson isn't like a Philly guy, but man, lots of Villanova connections there on the Knicks, which just ups the ante just a little bit. And yes, I'm still bitter that Jalen Brunson didn't go to Temple, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I really think that we're going to see the Sixers come out and hopefully play more consistent on Monday night because they're going to need to. But this needs to be a good rivalry. I'm looking forward to the rest of this series. I still think it goes 7 games, but we shall see. But tomorrow night cannot come soon enough. And like I said, there's some good things to take away from it. It's disappointing, especially when it's there to be won, and you just can't hit shots. And they really did not play well when Joe was not on the court, which is really surprising considering how much they played with him without the season. But we're on to Monday night. Sixers down 1-0, but I still firmly believe that this series is going 7, which leads us to the recap of the question of the day. I asked you what were your predictions for the Sixers-Knicks series, and it was split evenly, but it was either Sixers win if it's a long series, Knicks win if it's shorter, which I guess kind of makes sense. I feel maybe the longer this goes, the more the Sixers can maybe get Joe to kind of grind down. I don't know. But thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. There will be another question later in the show. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Make sure to hit me up on social media. Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok. At Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. At Jimbo_Mont. Let's grow this thing. Tell a friend. Tell your neighbors. Tell whoever you need. But lots of good things going on. I've been mentioning the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class has been announced. If you want information on tickets, the link is in the description, as well as information about the inductees. And if you do have a business or service that you want to do or want to sponsor or donate something for the auction part, hit me up offline. I can get you set up with that as well. But everything you need is in the description. All right, now Phillies. It was an interesting one for them. We were watching the Sixers game up here, obviously, but had an eye on what was going on in the Phils. And Wheeler was good. Took a no-hitter into the 8th. Ricardo Pinto, not so good. Gave up 5 runs after Wheeler's no-hitter was broken up. Rob Thompson did say he gave him, I think, a 120 pitch limit no matter what. So once the no-hitter was broken up, he pulled him, which was fine. I mean, Wheeler, he said it himself. He's like, look, it's a long season. You got to do like no-hitters are cool, but it's more important for them to win. But Pinto, not so good. Gave up for 5 runs, but a 9-5 win. 5 straight wins now, which is good. We also had a Nick Castellanos sighting last night. He went 3 for 4, I think, or 2 for 3. Had a triple. Hopefully this is the start of, as Charlie Manuel used to say, this is hitting season, even though it's chilly. But they are looking to sweep this afternoon with Aaron Nola on the mound. And throughout this 5-game winning streak, they haven't really gained or lost much with the Mets and Braves because they have been just as hot. So they're 2 games back of the Braves, and the freaking Mutts are right there, which is ridiculous. But we know what's going to happen with them, so it's okay. But they look to sweep today with Nola on the mound. Should be a good game for them to do. It'd be pretty cool if they could do and sweep the Rockies and the White Sox and win the 6 in a row, especially because those are the teams you should be doing. All right. Cannot wait to get home today. My Philly Connect shirt from Philly Goat came. Hopefully I haven't checked the weather, so I'm not sure really. I know it's cold up here, so I imagine it's still chilly, so I don't know if I'll get to wear it, but I will show it off for those of you who haven't checked it out yet. But you got to go to Philly Goat. Their whole Philly Connect line of hats, shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts. It's just unbelievable. They did it right. So go to Philly, go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Go to phillygoat.com. Check out the Philly Connect line of clothing. You will not be disappointed. And use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order when you check out. All right, we're going to hop in the Wayback Machine today. And before we hop in, I'd like to wish a very special happy birthday to the Penn Relays. Before, though, we go back, this happened in 1895, the first official Penn Relays. But before we go there, let's go back first a couple years to 1893. And there was a spring track meet going on, and in order to add more excitement, they came up with this idea of a relay race. So it was a 4x400, and Princeton beat Penn in this first official race that April before. And relays were a relatively new sort of genre, I guess you would call it, for track and field. And it was just kind of like a novel way to get people interested. So the following year, April 21st, 1894, Penn hosted another meet, had a little bit bigger of a relay thing, and then that led to this day in 1895 when the first Penn Relay Carnival was held at Franklin Field. And the Penn Relays really played an integral part in opening Franklin Field. I believe it was the first event at Franklin Field, as well as growing the relay portion of track and field. But 5,000 people attended that day. There were 9 relay races and 2 teams per race. It was the college and prep. It was a 4x400, 4x400 and the mile relay. Harvard won that first meet, but the schools that participated were Penn, Cornell, Columbia, Lafayette, Lehigh, Rutgers, Swarthmore, City College of New York, and NYU. And it just continued to grow. Like, it was a hit immediately, and it continued to grow. It is the oldest and largest track and field competition in the United States. Also the longest uninterrupted track meet in the country. Only has been canceled a few times over the years, and that's World War II, World War I, and COVID. It's usually held the last full week of April, so this year's is coming up. Over 100,000 people are going to be expected to be down there over the final 3 days of it. It's just very cool. Like, I used to go into high school when I was on the track team, and it was just kind of cool to see professionals, college, and high school people all sort of mingling and on the field at the same time. Definitely a Philadelphia institution. But on this day in 1895, it was the first ever Penn Relays Carnival, and they have continued ever since, minus a COVID year. I think it was a couple years for both World War I and World War II. And they get kicked off next week, down in West Philly. But the first Penn Relays Carnival happened on this day in 1895. Happy birthday, Penn Relays. Time for today's top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. And Game 5 of the 2022 NLCS is today's memory. Bedlam at the bank. It has to be a good one because it has a name. The Phillies did split those first 2 games out in San Diego, won the next 2 in Philly, so they were looking to clinch with Zach Wheeler on the mound going up against Yu Darvish. Restarted off early for the Phils with a 2-run homer in the 3rd. And then the Padres battled back. Wheeler got into trouble in the 7th inning. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez gave up the RBI double that and a go-ahead run on the wild pitch. I remember the double and then that wild pitch. You're like, oh, don't lose on a wild pitch. So they were down going into the bottom of the 8th, and up. Excuse me. JT singled. Bryce Harper hit Robert Suarez's 2-2 pitch to the left field seats, and it still to this day is one of the greatest moments in Philadelphia sports history. Would have been probably higher on that list if it was not for the fact they lost the World Series. But David Robertson came in to close it out. Tried to come in and close out. Got the first out on a strikeout, and then got 2 walks, and then the legend of Ranger Suarez was born. He came in, shut it down, ice water in his veins, and the Phillies were going to the World Series. That's why Philly Goat needs to get the Go Ranger Suarez shirt. I'm just saying. But today's Citizens Bank Park top 20 memory is Bedlam at the bank. Bryce Harper sends the Phillies to the World Series with a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th inning. And just, you knew, like, that the place was buzzing, and like you just knew it was going out. But that is today's Citizens Bank Park memory for the 20th anniversary, which also leads us to today's question of the day. What is the Phillies' best non-World Series postseason moment? Was it Bedlam at the bank? Was it Stairs pinch hit home run? J-Roll's walk-off in the NLCS, or was it Doc's no-hitter? Let me know what you think. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Philly's greatest non-World Series postseason moment. Bedlam at the bank, Stairs pinch hit home run, J-Roll's walk-off, and Doc's no-hitter. Or is it something else I'm missing? I mean, we talked the other day about Victorino's grand slam, Brett Myers at bat. So many ways you can go with it, but what is the biggest or best non-postseason or non-World Series postseason moment for the Phillies? 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future text line. Let me know what you think. To me, I think it's probably J-Roll's walk-off, only because I was there, and it was just amazing. But let me know what you guys are thinking as well. Drop your Sixers thoughts. How are we feeling after Game 1 didn't necessarily go the way we wanted? I still think there's a lot of promising things. Maxey looked good. But let me know what you think about that as well. And then finally today's Philly sports team with unfinished business that left a little bit of meat on the bone. This one's going to be tough to get through because it's the 1988 Eagles, and they were really the first team that I followed from start to finish, knew all the players. I kept scores in my Miller Lite NFL handbook, and it just was so disappointing. They went 10-6, won the NFC East. But I think the story for that team goes back to 1987, where the NFL players went on strike, and the owners used replacement players. So in reality, everybody missed 4 games, and the Eagles were 8-4 that year, minus the replacement games. So I think that's one thing to know, that their team was up and coming. It was a good young team, but they missed out on 4 games. And like, that's a quarter of the season back then. So they missed 25% of the season as a chance to grow and work together and things like that. And I think that may have been something, because they might have been able to get some playoff experience the year before. But they won the division, went out to Chicago to play in the divisional round. in what became known as the Fog Bowl. And just the story of that was obviously the fog, but I think if you really break it down, there's so many missed opportunities. They were only down 17-9 at halftime when the fog started to roll in, but in the first half they had a missed field goal, 2 touchdowns were nullified by Anthony Toney holding penalties on the same drive. Like, come on, Anthony. Like, what are you doing? They missed a 4th and 1, which I don't think they had instant, or no, I guess they did have instant replay back then. But I mean, Randall, it was close, and probably back then you should have kicked it. It was one of those things, like, they didn't go for 4th downs that much. Now it would have been a no-brainer. It would have been a tush-push touchdown, but missing out on that 4th and 1 from the goal line hurt. Anthony Toney's penalties hurt, and then Keith Jackson dropped a wide-open touchdown. Like, just, they should have been up so big in that first half, and then like stupid penalties just killed it. And that was kind of symbolic, I think, during the Buddy Ryan time. Though the Eagles did always take a lot of dumb penalties, but just missed opportunities. And then each team had a field goal in the second half, and it just, I know this thing was, well, both teams had to play in it, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know, but the Eagles should have been the team that had the lead going into halftime, and they killed themselves. And I think, to me, that year was sort of the turning point in that whole Eagles era with Buddy Ryan, because it's kind of set the tone for what was to come. But this year, 1988, I go to What If Sports all the time. I mention that. Not a sponsor or anything. I just think it's cool to be able to play out those fantasy matchups. And I've played this out so many times. Most of the time, San Francisco beats the Eagles in the NFC Championship the final week. But, like, I don't know, the eye test. And to me, the Eagles winning that game in Chicago would have been the ultimate confidence boost. And, like, having swagger going out there in the San Francisco, and of all the excuse me, the 49ers Super Bowl teams, this was not their best. I think they would have gone out, and I don't know if they would have steamrolled them, but I think they would have beaten the Niners. And then the NFC was so dominant versus the AFC, Cincinnati would have had no shot to beat the Eagles. And this could have been the Super Bowl year. But alas, it was not meant to be. But today's pains me. And then we talked already about the 89-90 Eagles, and the 91. It just was this. I feel like this was the key turning point in that whole era, because they would have gotten the postseason win and really just had all the confidence in the world. And to me, they would have went to the Super Bowl that year and beat Cincinnati. But today's Philly sports team with unfinished business that left a ton of meat on the bone out there in the field in Chicago that day in the Fog Bowl is the 1988 Eagles. Be sure to let me know what you think is the greatest Phillies non-World Series postseason moment. Is it Bedlam at the bank, Matt Stairs pinch hit home run, J. Rose walk-off, Doc's no-hitter, or is it something else I'm missing? Let me know. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Phil's looking to sweep it out. The Sixers will be back. I promise you they will be back. I still think this series is going 7 games. Her top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park is Bedlam at the Bank. Happy birthday to the Penn Relays. The first Penn Relays Carnival happened this day in 1895. And the rest is, as they say, history. But don't forget to check me out on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends. But it's cold up here, so I think it's cold down there too. So I will be back, but stay warm. Get outside. Get some fresh air. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Sunday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.